Welcome to the Low Code Digital Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Richard McGurr. I'm joined as always with my co-host, Josiah Adams.
Hello, everyone.
And today we have a very special episode. We're going to do a full project walkthrough. So what that means is that we're going to take a business case from a real business. We're going to go through the full requirements discovery phase, and then we're going to go off, build a tool, and then deploy it, and then bring it back to the customer for them to check out and use in their business and get their feedback on it. So today we're joined by Evan Tate from Brutal Buddha.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Evan. So tell us a little bit about Brutal Buddha.
Yeah, so just to introduce myself, my name is Evan. I'm co-founder of Brutal Buddha along with my co-founder, Ro Morris. And we are the world's most comfortable 3-in-1 active shorts for active men seeking balance. And part of our overall mission is to help those active men who are seeking balance live longer, healthier lives. So we really focus on longevity, and we'll build out a full suite of products. We've started with the world's most comfortable 3-in-1 shorts.
Okay, great. Yeah, why don't you show us the shorts?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can get a little feel for them here. It's got 4-way stretch, an inner liner that's super comfortable as well. And then we have a patented or trademarked package protector. So basically it fits the male parts, which you can see here, so that when you practice yoga or any other sport, your junk doesn't flop around too much.
Very important.
Yeah.
Very comfortable.
Yeah, I'm just going to go on a limb and say that we have a 95% male audience. So it's a great fit for everybody. And so as I understand, you guys started when?
We're a couple years old now.
But growing like crazy.
We're growing like crazy. We have tons of repeat customers, almost 2,000 customers to date. And most of them are basically looking at 2 to 3 pairs of shorts, and sometimes getting them as gifts for others as well.
Oh man, fantastic.
And what's your distribution through?
Currently, we are distributing through Shopify.
Mm-hmm.
So right. Shopify logistics and the store?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Cool.
On the logistics front, we actually are leveraging a 3PL.
Oh, okay.
If that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That stands for a third-party logistics, which means that you don't own the warehouse. And what happens is that you send orders, they store your goods, and then you transmit your orders to them, and then they pack it and send it to the customer. That's
exactly
what a 3PL is. Yeah.
The pick and pack.
Yeah, it's called pick and pack. So yeah.
Right. So you're doing a lot of online advertising. You're sending traffic to your e-commerce website. You mentioned Shopify. And then you have all of your back-end logistics behind that, fulfilling these orders, the manufacturing, et cetera.
That's right.
And so what is the...
why are we here today?
Yeah. Like what is the pain your business is feeling at the moment that perhaps we might be able to help you with?
One big pain point is our return policy. So we don't have too many returns, but when we do, we don't have an automated process. So currently we're looking to automate that process, make it easier for the customer so that there really is that boat of confidence that when they receive the shorts, try them on, if they're not, the perfect fit for them for whatever reason, which is common because, there's small, there's extra large, there's and double XL, they're online. So, everyone's body type is slightly different no matter what size you typically wear for your shorts. So we want to automate that process.
Yeah. And to kind of go a little deeper, returns are actually much more complicated than the normal direction of logistics. Mm-hmm. And that's because, like many companies, you guys aren't using the same logistics provider for the returns because, for example, these don't just go back into the supply chain. As I understand, a lot of companies destroy them, but you keep them, you wash them and then use them for promotions or friends and family and stuff like that. But anyways, it's not as simple as just, it goes straight back to the warehouse. And even then, it's like the customer has to ship it, Yeah, there's a lot going on in an RMA process.
That's right.
And before we started taping the episode, you mentioned, you guys have very few returns relative to your sales, right? Mm-hmm. Your product is really loved by your customers, but it still is an important part of your overall operations. And, you guys are growing fast and you guys are positioning yourself for growth. And this is what we understand is a key part of of that process of being ready to scale.
That's right. It really adds to our credibility. It's important that the process is seamless so that those customers come back if they want to try a new product down the road or even just share with their friends and family about our brand and how seamless the process was for them. So currently we have 3 small warehouses in the US that we ask anyone who has bought the shorts to return them to. before we can actually, return their payment and refund them in full.
Okay, so let's take a step back. What is the as is process? So it starts with a customer emailing your support email, right?
Exactly. So once they receive the shorts, they'll try them on, they'll use them a bit. And we have a policy where, if they're not fully satisfied with the shorts, they can go ahead and return them. So they'll send us an email or they'll send us a note through Shopify. We have a variety of different ways they can contact us through Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, etc.
Yeah, you got to be everywhere your customer is.
Everywhere. So, as long as they can get in touch, they can send us a WhatsApp. Once we hear from them that they want to return it, we then reply to them and say, here's the location that's closest to you. Please do return it to the
sometimes,
location.
and sometimes you need more information, like exactly what's wrong with the product, stuff like that. Or do you actually just say blanket returns?
Blanket return.
Wow.
So
everything you assume it's approved as long as there's a real order. So on the back end, you have to go and look up, does this person actually exist and made a purchase? And then if so, you approve. What happens next?
Yep. So they'll go to the local US mail or FedEx or DHL, and they'll return the pair of shorts. They'll send us a picture of the cost of the short, of what it was to return them to one of these 3 small warehouses. And once we see that picture, we then refund them for that immediately. And then once we receive the shorts, we send them another payment to make sure that we're refunding them in full for whatever they paid for the shorts, which is typically full price.
Yeah. So what's your payment gateway that you're using, and is it just that you issue a chargeback, or what happens here?
The payment gateway for refunding.
Yeah. Like, are you just doing because I know in Stripe you can just say refund. So are you doing that, or are you like PayPaling them the money, or what?
The former. Yeah. So we want to keep it on the system. So we do have Stripe. Anyone who paid through PayPal, there's a system where we can refund them pretty easily through Shopify.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So okay. So you're going back into the same system.
Correct.
And then of course the whole time you want to be capturing a lot of data. Like, when did you receive the product back? How much was the shipping? What was their order number, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. Because as we scale, it's really important to collect this data so that we can make sure to continually improve and enhance our process.
Okay. So yeah, speaking of that, I believe you sent us your Excel that you're using right now to track everything. And then in our experience, when you're transforming a business process, any process already has an Excel almost 100% of the time. And so that's a really great place to start. So I believe, Josiah, you have it open on the Excel. And so why don't you and Evan walk us through this Excel? And we'll have the Excel on the screen. If you're on the podcast, we'll post some screenshots of the Excel in the show description if you go to our website, or you can just watch it on YouTube.
Need the visuals.
Yeah. Well, actually, I mean, even before we get into this Excel, one big question, and I think a lot of people's minds is, okay, returns, refunds. This is something that every e-commerce business has to deal with. Mm-hmm. You're using Shopify. Doesn't Shopify just already have this done for you? Where's the complexity?
Why do we have to build a custom solution?
I think the complexity is in the return label. So we could set it up with our 3PL, the third-party logistics provider, but we haven't taken that step yet because the volume is so low. So it is something that we're entertaining and looking to proceed with, but we're trying to find creative solutions that might be even more effective and efficient.
Right.
And that you can tailor a little closer to your process.
Precisely.
And the data that you're trying to capture for your financials and everything like that.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's all the different integration points, right? Every e-commerce business maybe has different sets of integration points.
Payment
and so it's
gateway.
not, this is not just automatically built in the way that you want it to be into Shopify.
That's correct.
Right. And as you mentioned, this is really important for your overall customer experience. You want to make sure this is great and you can continue to refine your business because this data is very important for further refinement.
And brand trust.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. So then I think it's pretty clear the value of getting the correct solution for you. And before we started recording this episode, you sent us an Excel file showing the way that you're currently tracking this information. And I'm now recording my screen so we can share some of this with our audience. So can you tell us a bit about what's going on in this file and how the data here relates to the process that we just, like the overall process that we just outlined?
Absolutely. So you'll see here we have a very, very basic and simple Excel. And the first column is the name. So we just want to track first and last name of the individual, and then the date. So when did they actually return the order? And
That's when it was received.
that's when the return was received. Exactly.
Okay.
So this is our return so far for full year 2021. And as mentioned, we've only had about a handful total before that. So these are relatively new ones that we're tracking. We also then track the cost. So what was the discounted rate if there was a promotion at the time when they bought the shorts?
That's the order.
That's the actual order.
Okay. Yeah.
The dollar value. And then the last column here is just a conversion of the cost in Hong Kong dollars. So an extremely primitive spreadsheet here that we've been using. And again, most of it's been manual. So there is a big need for us as we scale the business and as we continue to grow very quickly to really make sure we're automating and working with partners who understand this world a lot more than Ro and I do.
Right.
Yeah. And, even if it's rudimentary now, digitizing a process is an opportunity to be better than you were before,
Yes.
if you're going to make a change. So maybe there's some other columns we could put on here. Like, for example, I think the order number would be very useful. Some other things like the date that they first contacted you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess we can have a think maybe when we go brainstorm this with Josiah, because I have a logistics background, actually. I've done many things, as you guys have heard on the show. And we'll come up with some suggestions of other things that we think you should be tracking,
Absolutely.
and then we'll improve all this.
Right. So continuing this discussion though about your business goals, because that's always where we want to anchor everything, rather than just, on the technology and the data fields and things
Right.
like that.
Longer term vision, OKRs,
exactly.
KPIs.
So we've covered a couple things. Let's just kind of confirm if we're on the same page with your overall goals with this. So we've mentioned, efficiency is one thing of this process. But it sounds like an even bigger opportunity for you right now is about the brand management. It's about the data that helps you identify, for example, where are friction points in this process for your customers, and how can this be how can the experience for them be improved? And this is part of that broader initiative. Do I understand that?
That's correct.
Right?
Yeah, nailed it.
And for example, what kind of metrics are valuable for you?
I would say client satisfaction is really important, whether they're a client who's returning the shorts or somebody who's keeping them, and also engagement levels. So a big part of our brand is outside of the physical shorts, right? Like we have the shorts, but it's the community. So over time, we'll roll out events, we'll do more live gatherings.
And you do
yoga
events
classes.
now already.
We do events now, but given the last year of the pandemic, it's been a bit harder to do live events.
Right.
So a lot of it is online and virtual. But in any case, you nailed it. It's exactly what you're referring to around the overall brand recognition.
So, but for this specific business process, I'm assuming that a key metric then might include something like how many customers who request a refund get through this process. How long does it take them?
We could also have an NPS survey at the end. I mean, just a basic one,
Right.
like how satisfied were you
Right.
in the email?
idea.
I mean, there's also stuff that you can do just to improve that. Like we can be sending status emails throughout the process, say you've received this. We can also manage their expectations at the beginning by saying like, here's what the process is going to be now that you've done it. You're on step 1 of 3,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And we can make it easier for you. I've seen the emails that you usually do. You have to type out every single time how this is going to go. If you could say, okay, begin RMA process, and then they get the email of this is how this is going to go. We need this from you and this from you. You guys save a lot of time. And send better emails because you send the perfect crafted email the first time.
Exactly. That's what we're going for.
Right. And then is there any part of this process where, so Richard already kind of led into this, where we're actually collecting more information from the customer in order to help that process of just continuous refinement of the product, of every step of the customer's experience. So, is there some question that you wish to, or some kind of additional data that might be useful to collect throughout this process? Anything in particular that comes to your mind?
I think there would be. I think obviously satisfaction with the process is really key. So having a sliding scale there, but also what the expectation is for the return. So like, do they need to physically go return it? Would they prefer to just have a return label that they can put outside their door to make it seamless and easy for them? But as far as other information, it's something that we're still thinking through. Do you guys have any suggestions?
Yeah, I got one.
What would be good?
Yeah, I would say that it would be useful to have data in a structured manner on why they returned it.
Exactly.
And you could do something like predefining reasons for the return in the initial form, because basically what we're going to be doing is embedding a form on your website that kicks off this process, which is a very common way to kick off a process, is somebody filling out a form. And so that we can have a multi-select of saying, why are you returning this? And that way, like, oh, we get 30% of our returns because of this. I didn't like the color. I didn't like the fit.
Yeah.
And then that way you can navigate that. Like, for example, I'm just, giving a hypothetical here, but if you had a lot of complaints about people didn't understand the fit, then maybe you guys need to invest some time helping customers figure out what size they are, et cetera.
Yeah. And there's so many reasons, right?
Okay, Josiah, you were taking some notes on the process. Why don't you, because we kind of described it verbally, but let's go through the process as we've written it down, because we're going to go use this written process to actually create the app. So we got to make sure we got it right. So why don't you run Evan through it?
All right. So where we began from the notes that we've recorded so far, we understand you start off with a customer sends an email or a note via Shopify requesting a return.
Yeah, or even a call. We've got a couple phone calls. Right.
So you have, so it can be through any inbound channel.
That's right.
Right. And then, as I understand, the next step after that is that you are replying to the customer with instructions for a return.
Yes. So we basically will send them a note laying out very simply, here's the 2 steps or 3 steps that you need to do and what the process will look like. So it is quite manual still. They don't get an automated reply or a snippet of what they need to do.
Right. And then you also mentioned that at some point in this process, you're confirming, you're doing some lookup on, say, an order number, like, are you an actual customer?
Correct.
Is that done before you send the reply, or is that done after, or just kind of depends on the message that you received?
It's always done before. So it takes us all of maybe 1 minute to quickly look on our Shopify app and make sure that this is a legit customer, so that we're not having, some sort of back and forth around kind of a spam or a fake person.
Right. So you reply to the customer with return instructions. And then the next thing I noted down is that you're actually issuing the payment refund, but I'm assuming that there must be some step in between there where you are confirming that they've actually...
Well, they have to receive the goods.
Sent back the goods.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we wait until one of our 3 smaller warehouses actually receives it. And once we receive the goods, we then issue the refund. So, it's a waiting game. And with shipping delays right now, sometimes it takes a couple of weeks in the US, but there is that trust factor, right? Because we have an email thread or some sort of thread through Messenger platform where they can see that we are going to refund them once we receive the physical goods. And we do immediately refund once it's shipped out. So it would be great to automate this.
Wait. So
the shipping cost.
Okay. So there's 2 payments that are made.
2 payments separate.
Okay. All right.
Right. So when the customer, so they receive these return instructions.
That's right.
The customer will then send back goods, and they need to pay shipping company.
Correct.
For shipment. Keep the receipt.
Yeah. Send us a picture.
And send picture for a cost refund.
Yeah. So you can see we're growing and scaling extremely fast, but we're still acting as if, we're a 100 customer company.
Okay, awesome. So the customer is now sent back the goods and had to pay the shipping company, kept the receipt, sent a picture for the cost for refund. And at this point, So all of that information that the customer is collecting, how are they then sending that back to you? Is that all being sent back through the same inbound channel that they initiated things usually, like through email? It could be through your website.
Any official channel, yeah. So even through Shopify. So it's either typically through Shopify, direct message, or email. And sometimes they will message us on Instagram, which is brutal_Buddha for anybody who's interested.
We'll have that in the description.
Yep.
Excellent. So then after that, we wait until one of your warehouses receives the goods. At that point, the warehouse sends you some kind of a notification that it's received.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we don't hear back within 10 to 14 days, we'll follow up with them directly.
Oh, saying we saw the shipping label, but we haven't received it? Or are you following up with the shipping company?
No, the warehouse.
Oh, okay.
And then if they still haven't received it, we'll check in with the shipping company because we want to take that effort, as much effort off of the customer as possible.
Yeah.
So right now there is some effort required from these customers, and it's probably very different than the large MNC massive brands out there.
Right.
One that starts with an L.
Right. So now we have the goods back at the warehouse.
Correct.
Warehouse confirmed receipt, and you now are advancing to issue a refund to the customer through the original payment gateway. So the customer may have sent payment through either Stripe or PayPal. So you go back to the appropriate payment gateway and issue that refund. But then you further need to send an additional amount back to the customer.
I think they already did that.
My understanding is you wait until you actually receive the goods at the warehouse until you refund them for the shipping.
We'll typically refund them immediately. So we'll
Just
do that.
the shipping,
Just
yeah.
the shipping. So that they feel some confidence
Right.
in the overall process, right? So as soon as they show us the shipping, it was $4.95 or whatever it comes out to, we immediately transfer them those funds.
Yeah,
So
and-
they feel confident.
Right.
And as an aside, apparel is really great for e-commerce because it doesn't weigh very much. And
Exactly.
so $4.95 on shipping is, that's great. Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Right. Excellent. So we've now issued the refund to the customer, and throughout this entire process, ideally you'd be tracking everything. So the current process is you're just tracking things on this Excel sheet.
Correct.
Right. And then is there any other like follow-up survey or anything like that as part of the current process? Like we talked about how that would be ideal, but as I understand, it's not part of the current.
It's not
flow.
currently.
Yeah.
No. Something
Right.
we'd like to implement.
Right. Excellent. Is there any part of the current process that we haven't covered that we should include in this process documentation?
I think the very tail end, right? So as Rich mentioned, once the goods are received by the warehouse, we don't know exactly what to do with them. So we haven't actually distributed them or, brought them back to our main warehouses. But one piece is, how do we actually leverage this product for expansion? So is that giving to friends and family? Is it, connecting with influencers who don't mind a wash pair? But we like to be extremely transparent around, those actual goods.
Okay.
And
So it sounds like the requirement here is that you want a list of return goods that haven't been reissued yet so that you kind of know that stock level.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. To track
right.
it.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
over time, it'll probably be a lot more.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. That's actually a good problem to have.
Well, given how few returns you get, we'll hope that
Percentage of
those
returns is
percentages,
under one.
are maintained. Yeah.
Well, you've tried them on, right? So hopefully you can see why there's
Oh,
not
yeah.
too many returns.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, I use them for biking actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you said, these are for many sports.
You should see Rich in a downward dog.
Oh yeah.
Nothing like it.
It's beautiful.
Excellent. So it sounds like we've got the current process documented. Richard, why don't you give a summary of what we're going to do next?
Okay, yeah. So we're next. Josiah and I are going to go take off, and then we're going to basically analyze your requirements. We're going to pick a tool that we think we can use to build this, and then also analyze further opportunities to maybe improve this even more. And then we're going to build it, and we're going to have a summary of that. We're going to record the whole process and show everybody how it was done. And then we're going to come back and present it to you.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Evan, for coming on.
Thank you both. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And Evan, can you tell everyone where they can learn more about Brutal Buddha?
Absolutely. So you can check us out at brutalbuddhagear.com. That's BRUTALBUDDHAGEAR.com. I know it's a long one.
There'll be a
in the
link.
comments.
Yeah, and I'll write it on the video too. So.
Yeah. You can also find us on Instagram. As mentioned, it's brutal_Buddha, or our Facebook page. Our username is just Brutal Buddha, all in one word, lowercase. You can also find us on TikTok, brutal_Buddha, and a variety of other places. LinkedIn, just search for Brutal Buddha, and you'll see us out there a lot more on Reddit and other channels where we engage with the yoga community.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. And most importantly, namaste brutal.
Namaste.
Namaste.